Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm Kazi Haq, the Chief Information Security Officer of Total IT Solution Corporation. I welcome you to the Risk Assessment and Recommendations Executive Briefing. Today's brief will be scoped by the business scenario, network design, asset inventory, threat and vulnerabilities, risk assessment, and finally the countermeasures and recommendations. As you know, we are the public limited company and we provide internet service and IT support to our client. We are based in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Provide high-speed internet connections with optical fiber. We take the responsibility of the client's all type of IT issues as yearly contact basis like troubleshooting, network security, system upgradation, etc. We provide information network security as a service and internet connections and computer network infrastructures. And finally, we also provide disaster recovery solutions to our respective client. As you know, we have as many as six departments. Those are research development, technical support, finance, human resources, sales, and marketing. And we have three giant clients in the Winnipeg. Those are Canadian Tire, TD Bank, and Walmart. You can see the location of our headquarters and the clients. Our company is located towards the west part of the Winnipeg, and all three companies are located in the center of the town or city, and they're connected by the internet to each other with the backbone of optical fiber cables. Within the company, the internet is connected in the technical support department through the router, and inside the company, the departments are connected to the company LAN supported by the optical fiber. The data center you can see comprises of the router where the internet is connected, the firewall, the layer 3 switch, all the servers are at the backside of the data center for the security purposes, the instant response team, network connection team, help desk, and the reception center covered by the security guard. Data flow model, you can see any client, they can contact our resources. If anyone wants, that they can use their workstations by through the browser. They can have a secure connection to the external firewall where they have to be approved from our external Active Directory. If they are approved, they can browse our external server and web server. In any purpose, if anyone from outside want to get our internal resources, they have to have connection to our secured connection to our internal Active Directory. If they are approved, only then they can come up to our internal firewall through which they can see our internal resources. That means no one from outside can see our internal resources. We have few software applications you're using in your company, like Windows Server. For running our server, we are basically using Windows Server 2016, Microsoft 365, and security informations and event management software. Then adaptive security device manager. Those are the important applications we are using now. We have some critical services running in a company like Active Directory for controlling our client or user account, then HTTPS for secure connections, syslog for recording events and auditing purposes, SNMP version 3 for messaging purposes. We have identified and evaluated as many as 128 assets, out of which we think that 31 assets are very important. Those are 6 software assets, 6 services, 9 informations, 6 equipment, 3 facilities, and 2 people. Out of that, we think that the facilities are the most valuable assets of the company, where the data center is the largest value. At the same time, information assets also are very costly to compromise. Out of the 31, we found these 10 most valuable assets of our company. Those are data center, SIAM software, Chief Executive Officer's mobile and laptop, then security appliance software, network firewall, employee personal data, account informations, employee medical history, online service support, and the web server. These are the most vulnerable and valuable asset of our company. We have identified as many as 10 threats which are we think that they're likely to face by the company. These are the unauthorized physical access. This is possible and factor exposure factor is 10%. Malicious code is possible and this is exposure factor is 100%. Denial of service is also possible. The exposure is 50%. Counseling user identity is likely. Exposure is 100%. Compromising confidential informations. This is possible. Exposure is 100%. Information leakage also possible. Exposure is 100%. Failure of communication linkage. This exposure is 35%, which is almost certain. Loss of electricity. This is likely. Exposure is 10%. Social engineering. This is almost certain. Exposure is 100%. And interruption of services. This is likely. Exposure is 30%. We also identified 10 most vulnerabilities of our company which you should guard against. Those are inadequate supervision of outsourcing technicians who comes from outside to work inside our company. The severity is low and existing safeguard we are using now is the physical guard and password policy. Uncontrolled use of information system, severity is high and we are using packet filtering as safeguard. Inadequate network management, severity is high and existing safeguard is network management policy only. The subject to phishing vulnerabilities, the severity is high and only CCTV coverage in the office perimeter is the safeguard existing, not outside the office perimeter. Lack of procedure for removing access right upon termination of employment, the severity is medium. Presently, manual periodic review of access right is existing as safeguard. Lack of policy for the use of cryptography, the severity is high and existing safeguard is only basic disk encryption. Unprotected public network connections, severity is medium and existing safeguard is only ISP provided network. Then the equipment sensitivity to change in voltage, the severity is medium and safeguard is only single UPS system and emergency gunset. No other things is there to see the change of voltage. Then lack of cyber security training of the employee, the severity is medium and the existing safeguard is only the password policy, nothing else. Then the last one is the inadequate capacity management. The severity is high and we are managing it with the load balancing. Now the risk management and asset analysis. We have analyzed the asset value and the risk value. So out of the 10, the most valuable asset is the data center. And the asset value we think that is 2 million and the exposure factor is 10%. In per year it can occur 2 times and in one time occurrence it may lose $200,000. So yearly it may lose $400,000. Similarly, security information and event management software we may lose $360,000 per year. The Cisco adaptive security appliance software, by that we may lose $300,000 per year. For the CU's laptop or cell phone exposure, we may lose $50,400 in a year. Employee personal data, we may lose $22,160. Account informations, we may lose $22,160. Online service support, we may lose $21,000. Firewall, technical firewall, for firewall we can lose $18,000. For employee medical history, we may lose $16,000. And for the data server, we may lose $14,625. After analysis, we think that the 10 most vulnerabilities and risk, we can think those risk vulnerabilities 6 we can mitigate, and 2 we can transfer as to our vendors, and 2 we can accept because those mitigation cost is higher than their actual cost. Firstly, the data center, which is the most costly asset we have. To mitigate the unauthorized physical access risk, physically we like to install man trap and biometric access system, which may cost $4,000. Technically, we like to deploy motion sensors and smart cameras costing $4,000. And administratively, we like to enforce physical access policy, which may cost $2,000. In total, we are planning to spend $10,000 to mitigate the unauthorized access to the data center. For the SIAM software to mitigate the malicious code risk, physically we like to install USB port blockers to prevent use of USB stick costing $1,000. Technically, we like to install advanced endpoint protection costing $7,000. Administratively, we like to review endpoint security policy costing $2,000. It may take $10,000 in total. For the denial of service risk to the security appliance software, physically we like to padlock rack that houses the firewall and other security appliances as already existing. We don't need any extra money here. Technically, we like to deploy a next gen firewall with anti-distributed denial of service security features costing $18,000. And for administratively, we like to update firewall access rule policy costing $2,000. We need $20,000 for this security appliance software. To mitigate the risk of concealing user identity to the chief executive officer's mobile and laptop use, physically we like to install laptop locks to prevent theft of laptop computers costing $2,000. Technically, we have to deploy two-factor authentication system using password manager software costing $10,000. And administratively, we like to conduct awareness and training to our respected chief executive officer so that he is aware of handling those equipment. So cost $2,000. So in total, we are need here $14,000. So to protect the employee personal data from compromising confidential information, physically we like to padlock server racks and all the with the existing resources. Technically, we like to deploy risk encryption mechanism costing $4,000, and administratively we like to conduct security audit for compliance to DDPR for $2,000. In total, we need $6,000 here. To mitigate the risk of information leakage to the account information, physically we like to padlock server rack of customer server that store information, confidential information with the existing resources. Technically, deploy risk encryption mechanism costing $4,000. Administratively, we like to audit system of compliance to PCI DSS, which needs $2,000. So in total, $6,000. To mitigate the risks of failure communications for the online service support, physically we like to install cable manager and ties to prevent accidental unplugging of data communication cable costing $1,000. Technically, sign server level agreement with committed interface rates and redundant link with the ISP costing $10,000, and administratively create network baseline and regularly monitoring performance costing $1,000. So we need $12,000 here. For the loss of electricity for the network equipment in the data center, we like to transfer this risk to our outsourcing partners so that they should take care of this risk and we can save the manpower and existing cost and also administrative load. For the social engineering, we are going to accept this risk for the employee medical history. The risk is not that high compared to its cost, so we like to accept this cost and risk. And finally, for the web server interaction of service risk, and the cost is too high, $18,000, we like to accept the risk as the risk is too high compared to its cost. So thank you very much, sir, for your patience hearing, and we hope that the budget will be provided us to mitigate those risks.